Hey guys, we're going to go through exercise 5.03, which was due on Friday. Circles and semicircles, questions 1 through to 7. Just a little bit of a background on the circles. We've looked at this in the past when we looked at equations and functions. Circle with a center at 0, 0. We'll have the equation r squared equals x squared plus y squared. It could also be written around the other way, something along the lines of x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So if it had a radius of 2, let's just say we had a radius of 2, that would have an equation of x squared plus y squared equals 4. If we had a circle like this and we wanted to list its domain and its range, if it had a radius of 2, obviously it'd go from 2 through to minus 2 and from 2 to minus 2 in the y direction, and so our domain and range would pretty much look exactly the same. 2 to minus 2, we put the square brackets because it's equals 2 and minus 2 at both of those cases, and range minus 2 and 2 because it's going up and down from minus 2. When we have the center that's not at the origin, we have a slightly more complicated equation. If the center was x, let's call it a, and the y coordinate was equal to b, then we'd substitute those in and make a binomial product there. So as an example, if we had a center at, let's say, x equals 3 and y equals 2, and we had a radius of 6, our equation would be x minus 3 all squared. So I've taken that 3 and put it in here, x minus whatever the center is, plus y take away 2 all squared, and that would equal r squared, which we put 36. For semicircles, their formula looks like y equals the square root of r squared minus x squared. So taking the formula from the previous page and making y the subject. The semicircle above the x-axis will have a positive square root, and a semicircle below the x-axis will have a negative sign in front of the square root. So let's have a look at some of the questions. Question 1, for each of these, sketch the graph. So get us started, nice basic one. 1a, x squared plus y squared equals 9. So obviously there's no binomials here, so that means we've got a center at the origin, and the 9 here means we have a radius of 3 for that particular case. So I'll do my very best here to draw my circle. That's a terrible circle, but it's all good. And on your sketches, just make sure you place any x or y intercepts, the values of those. If we look at the domain and range for that one, obviously, as I said on the previous page, the domain goes from 3 to minus 3 in the x, from left to right, and up and down similarly goes from 3 to minus 3. If we have a look at C, C is a little bit more complicated. So first of all, we want to determine where is the center. The center, because we've got minus 2 here, the x-coordinate of the center will be positive 2, and the minus 1 here, that means we're going to have positive 1 as the center. And equals 4, so that means our radius will be 2. So if we go and sketch that one, if we go 2 across and 1 up, approximately, there's our center. I might change my pen color. The radius of 2 means that the circle on this left hand side is just going to touch that axis, and it's going to go a little bit under here, like so. So there's a center at 2. The radius is 2, so it goes to that 0, and it's going to come out here to a maximum of 4. Now the y coordinate of the center was 1, and so because the radius is 2, it's going to go up to 3 at the very top and down to minus 1 down here at the bottom. So our domain and range for something not at the center, not at the origin, a little bit more complicated, but if you go through that process, shouldn't be too hard. So the domain is going to go from 0 to 4. Oops. And the range for that particular one goes from minus 1 up to 3. Last example we'll do of that one, we'll do D. X minus 1 plus y squared equals 9, and so our center is located, we've got a positive 1 here, so that'll be x equals negative 1. There's no binomial here for y, so that will be at y equals 0. And our radius, it's going to be at x equals 3 square root of 9, which is 3. If we sketch that one up, the center's at -1 and 0, so it's on the x-axis there. Just change my pen color. We're going to have a radius of 3, so if I go across 3, we'll just label that as -1. That will take us all the way to positive 2, and if we go across here 3 units, we're going to go to -4. Lovely drawing. I'm sure you'll be able to do a lot better on with your pen and paper. For this one here, it's going to be a little bit harder to find your intercepts, and for circles you're probably not going to have to do them unless they're going to come out as a whole number. I just want to focus on what the extremities here, the max and the min here, will be. So again, we're raising 3 from 0, so that'll be up at 3, and this will be down at -3. So our domain will be from -4 to 2, and our range will be from -3 to 3. Just keep note, if the radius is 3, obviously the difference between these two extremes in your domain and range will be double that, or 6. If we check over here, the radius for this question was 2, so there'll be 4 in between these two. Skip ahead to question 2, wants us for each one to state whether the semicircle's above or below the axis, sketch the graph and state the domain. So if we'll have a look at A, we've got a negative square root of 25 minus x squared, so negative means it's going to be below the axis. The 25 is your r squared, so therefore for this question r is 5. So this semicircle is below the axis, it's going to go from 5 to -5 down to 5. And there's pretty much our sketch, our domain. So it's going to go from -5 to 5. And hopefully you can see the range will go from -5 up to 0. Just do one more of these. Let's have a look at C. We've got a radius of 6. It's above the x-axis, and it's going to go from 6 to -6 and up to 6. So you can see again the domain, -6 to 6, and the range, this time we're going from 0 up to +6. Semicircles, nice and easy. Most of these are square numbers, the r squared section. When you've got a 7 here, the square root of 7 is root 7, so your domain will be plus or minus root 7. Question 3, we want to find the radius and the centre. So for something like A, the centre, I'll just call it C, is going to be at 0, 0, and the radius in that case is going to be equal to the square root of 100, which is 10. If we have a look at C, now the centre is going to be at x equals 4, y equals 5. And the radius will be the square root of 16, which will be 4. If we go on to D, I'll just do D. The centre, x equals 5. And because we've got a positive number in here, this will give us the centre at y equals -6. And the radius, the square root of 49, which is 7. Here's an example where we don't have a square number, so the radius in that case will be the square root of 5. Question 4 wants us to find the equation. This is probably the most challenging part of this exercise. Wants us to find the equation in expanded form. So something, A is not too difficult because the centre is at 0, 0. That's going to be x squared plus y squared equals 4 squared, which we can just write in as 16. When the centre is not at the origin, which is the case with B, we've got a centre at 3, 2. We've got a radius equal to 5. We need to first of all write this down in bracketed form. So x minus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared. So I've just taken those two centre coordinates, and that'll equal 25. Question wants us to write this in expanded form, so what we have to do is expand and simplify these two. Now hopefully if you've got a good knowledge of how your perfect squares expand, this should be nice and straightforward. We should get x squared minus 6x plus 9, and for this one here we'll get y squared minus 4y plus 4, and that'll equal 25. The last thing to do is put your x terms together, then bring your y terms together and add the 9 and the 4, that'll be 13, take away 25, bring everything over to this side, so 13 take away 25 will be 12, and that there is your answer. So you can just notice using the center and the radius, write it in abbreviated form, expand both of those out, and then write it so that you've got the x squared x term, the y squared y term, and then whatever all of these numbers equate to, bringing everything over to that left hand side, all equals 0. On to question 5, it wants us to find the radius and the center. So this is the reverse of what we just did. We've got expanded form here. I'll do a plus y squared minus 2y, and that's equal to minus 4. What I'm going to do, a little trick here, we're going to complete the square. So first thing I'm going to do is take this minus 4 and put it over this side, which will make it positive 4. I'm going to grab my red pen now because we're going to complete the square. We've done this earlier in the course. Have a think to yourself, if I'm going to complete the square, what number will go here? What's half of 4? And then square it. Well, that'll give us plus 4. Half of 2 and square it, that'll give us plus 1. We can now factorize that part, factorize this part. So that should give us x minus 2 all squared. This will give us y minus 1 all squared, and that'll equal 4. So from that now we can get the center. Our center coordinates will be x equals 2, y equals 1, and the radius there will be the square root of 4, which is 2. So have a try of B, C, and D yourself. Complete the square, go back through that if you need to check that again. Complete the square, factorize, and then from this factorized form you can go straight to the center and the radius. Have a try of 6 as well. 6 is a little bit more complicated. Question 7, last one we'll do. Sketch the circle whose equation looks like this. So we've got x squared plus 4x, y squared minus 2y plus 1 equals 0. This part here is going to factorize quite nicely. Now this bit here hasn't factorized, so we need to add 4 to this side to balance the equation. I need to add 4 to that side as well. So this will factorize now to x minus 2 all squared. Sorry, x plus 2 because of that plus sign there. X plus 2 all squared plus y minus 1 all squared equals 4. That gives us a center of minus 2 and positive 1 and a radius of 2. And if we sketch that, firstly we'll plot the center, minus 2 and 1. And our radius will be 2, so that will mean our circle will just touch the y-axis again. We don't have to do the domain and range on this one, but it'd be a good little exercise to find out, how far this would go down. This should go down to minus 1. This should go up 1 plus 2. That should go up to 3. This one should go across to 0, and this should go to minus 4. So hopefully that's enough to get you started on this exercise. Go back through and complete as many as you can. I'll give you a question on Monday from last year's HSC that was pretty much exactly like, which question here? Question 5. There was a question pretty much exactly like 5A, the one I've just did here, where you had to go through the complete the square to find the center and the radius. So that's question 5 is a really important question to do. Okay guys, hopefully that video wasn't too long, but hopefully it was useful for you.